What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of GM Fantasy, and in today's video, we're gonna look at contract bidding. Let's get it going. So, when you're doing contract bidding, it's obviously going to depend on whether you're doing your startup auction or if you're doing your UFA periods in between years. And you're going to have some strategies or some concepts that you're going to maybe want to pay attention to when doing the bidding. And I'll go over a little bit just so, like, if you're new to this, you'll have an idea of maybe how to proceed and get started. And I think the first thing you want to do is to identify the players you want to give big contracts. Now, these are players that you know that if you give them a 5 year deal, they're going to be producing for the 5 years. So usually these tend to be younger players that are going to be in their prime, players that are in great situations, good offenses, steady, like stability, like I don't know, like Buffalo. They've had the same coaching staff for like the last like 7 8 years now. Josh Allen isn't going anywhere. It's a top offense. Like that's a prime player that you would want to give a big long-term contract to. And then you got players where you're not so sure, like someone like, I don't know, maybe like Jamison Williams, like he's the wide receiver two on a good offense, but there's so many mouths to feed that he's a boomer bust player week per week. You don't know if he's what he's gonna do. There's just a lot of uncertainty. So he's someone you might want to give a contract to, but you're gonna be a little more cautious on the amount and the term you're gonna give him. Understanding the age windows, I think, is pretty crucial. Like for especially like per position. So like quarterbacks, they tend to last longer. So I wouldn't be too worried up until 35 years old. So if you got someone who's 30 years old and you want to give him a 5 year deal, I think you're safe. Running backs, obviously, you're going to start to get worried at about 29, 30 years old. That's when they really start to drop off, unless you're Derrick Henry. And receivers, you might be able to give a year or two more, so like 30, 31, maybe even 32 in some cases for like your Devontae Adams type players. And then tight ends, I find they could last a little longer too. So I would maybe give them up till 32, 33 years old. And that would be, I think, the cap per position. You don't want to give players more term than that age when they get to that age. Identifying that, I think, is very important. Don't get stuck giving, let's say, Raheem Mostert, a 5 year deal for whatever amount, because he's already 30 years old, and he's not going to be playing at 35, so you're just wasting money and wasting a roster spot. And if you cut him, then now you got dead cap, right? So it's just something you have to pay attention. Some of your league mates might bid ridiculously and price you out, not just in salary but in term. There was one guy who I think one of my leagues, he signed Tyreek Hill to a 5 year deal. I was like, God, like I was going on him, but I wasn't willing to go more than I think 2 or 3 years. And then he went boom 5 years, and I had to bow out. Like I couldn't go 5 years because now I'm going to pay a penalty if he retires or if he doesn't do anything at that age, right? So it's just something you have to take into account. I really wanted him. I think he still has that boom potential, but the bust was too much of a factor and his age was too much of a factor, so I had to stop bidding on him. So once you identify your players, now you have to go after them. So someone, and I would suggest you go after them hard and early, just so you get them first. You're set at your position first before your other league mates, because once the tier of players dries up and it comes down to that last player, let's say in the tier, everyone's gonna want him because he's the last one left. So it's gonna just drive up the price. And I've noticed that sometimes when someone makes a big offer right away to a player, and then other players are bidding lower amounts than other players, and they do the little slow build up, build up, build up. If you go hard on one player, for some reason, I find guys will be like, okay, this guy really wants him. We're gonna back off and let him have him, and we'll go after these players that are still at low salary and low terms. And then you get your player, and now everyone else is bidding for everyone else, and now you don't have to worry. That's what I've noticed in a couple of my leagues how it works. It's not obviously doesn't always go like that, but general rule, that's how kind of how it goes. So that's what I would recommend to do is like if you want your guys, go for them. If you have to overbid a little bit at the beginning, do it, because at the end when there's only one or two players left, then you're going to really be paying for him and he's going to go more than what he's worth. Another strategy that I've noticed people doing and that I've done myself a few times is to nominate players that you don't necessarily want. Now, someone like, let's say like a Jameson Williams, like I don't necessarily want him, but he does have some value, you know, like he's not useless. I'll put out a contract for him, let's say $5 3 years. Okay. And if I end up signing him $5 for 3 years, well, hell, I just got a great deal, a very low value, low risk for the salary, and the term 3 years isn't too bad. And now you have like a position filled, you know, a depth player at a very good bargain price. Obviously, other people are going to see that and they'll be like, "Oh no, we can't let him go for that price," and they're going to start bidding him up, bidding him up, bidding him up, and then you just let them bid on him, waste their money, and then you don't have to worry about him anymore. And you could keep doing that with other players whenever you want to nominate someone. And you're wasting other people's money. So then when a player comes up that you want, you have the cash and you're able to get them. So you have to be careful with that too, because on the flip side, if you start doing that and then no one bids, then you're going to be stuck with players you don't want. So you have to be wary of what you're doing. You're not going to put a player that you absolutely hate like that, because if they drop him on you, then you're screwed. You have to be careful about overbidding on players. If you're going to start bidding players up, it's going to happen in every league. It always does. Just be careful about it, because if you get dropped, if they drop the player on you, man, then well, you gotta you gotta eat it. Same thing with maybe bidding on multiple players at the same time. I had one guy, man. I think he had like 10 bids on 10 different players, and if had, let's say, no one else bid anymore, and he had to win all those 10 players, he would have been screwed. Didn't work out that way. He got lucky, and people needed players, so people kept bidding. But it's happened a few times where some guys got stuck with extra players that they didn't want, and then they were just like, they admitted, they were just trying to bid them up because he thought they were too cheap, but you got screwed because you had to cut some players in the end. I can like maybe show you players here, like let's say in this league over here. We only had this was UFA, so there were only 3 quarterbacks bid on. So Mahomes was a free agent, Stafford was a free agent, so was Flacco. And obviously Mahomes, he went $45 for 5 years. That's I don't have any gripes with that. Like he's gonna be a great quarterback. 5 years, he's still relatively young. Like he's that. I think that's a safe deal, and like that's fine. You know, no worries about that one. But then over here, you went after Stafford, and this guy went 33 for 2 years, and then he went way over the top with 35 for 5 years, adding 3 extra years. I thought was a little overboard, but I guess you really wanted him, and that this is a deal that I'm not a big fan of, because Stafford's already what, like 35, 36, and I don't see him playing 5 years. And now if he ends up retiring or just not playing very often, then he's gonna have this guy's salary to worry about for the next 5 years. And our league, it's a 25%. If he retires, it's a 25% hit per year. So it's gonna cost him like $6, $7 per year in penalty just to have him retire. So this is a deal I wasn't too big a fan of, but whatever. It's better him than me, I guess, right? And then you got Joe Flacco. No problems here, man. This guy, obviously he's super old. The guy only got him for 1 year, so there's absolutely no risk. You know, $9 1 year, could be a potential starter. If he isn't, whatever, you can cut him, and it's just only going to cost him $4 for the year. So it's not a big deal. So like it just these are the type of things you have to worry about. Like, see this, no problems, fit all the criteria to do this. This one did not fit all the criteria. He overbid, and I think he's gonna get burned on this one for sure. So I think that's about it. There's not too much you have to worry about. Just little things to be aware of, and just be smart. Identify your players. Identify the term you want to give these guys, and just execute. And don't be afraid to just back out, because in the long run it'll hurt your team. So just back out, let them hurt their teams first, and then you'll be just fine after that. So, all right, thanks, guys. I'd really appreciate a like, a subscribe. You know, leave a comment if there's anything you have any questions. I'll be happy to respond. You know, if you guys want to start a league, I'm happy to start a league with some subscribers. So just get back to me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.